state-of-the-art dry eye therapies that rejuvenate the eyes and face with safe, non-invasive treatments to restore comfort and quality of life. Green Eye Associates, official optometrist of Baylor Athletics. Baylor Nation rolls along with Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram. Start with award-winning service and factory-trained techs. Then shop our new and used lineup from cars, trucks to SUVs, all makes and models. Running a business? We're your Central Texas headquarters for ProMaster vans, cab, and chassis and work trucks. For power and comfort, test drive the Ram 1500, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year winner again. Allen Samuels in Waco, proud partner of Baylor Athletics.
Come by. Let's be friends.
You've been listening to the First Central Credit Union postgame show. Brought to you by First Central Credit Union, serving members since 1937. Stay tuned for the Baylor Football Postgame Fan Forum, right here on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
Baylor football on ESPN Central Texas.
The final whistle is blown.
All right, here we go.
Stories just beginning. Welcome to the fifth quarter show on the Baylor Sports Media Network. Your post-game home for highlights, interviews, advanced.
They finally got the touchdown, 16-7.
To made the difference. The fifth quarter show is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, championship partner of Baylor Athletics. Visit Texas Farm Bureau Insurance online to find a local agent today. Baylor Scott and White Health, the official hospital and healthcare system of Baylor Athletics. Your healthcare, your way. HEB, the official grocer of Baylor Athletics. Proudly serving Texans since 1905. TFNB, your bank for life. The official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Premier ER and Urgent Care. Feel better now. Nissan, innovation that excites. Now, here's your host, Derek Smith.
TCU 42, Baylor 36. That's the final today in Fort Worth in a lightning-delayed game that saw the Bears struggle defensively, fall behind by 3 touchdowns, and nearly mount a crazy comeback in a mostly empty stadium, only to commit their 4th turnover of the day and fall to TCU by that score, 42-36. As we welcome you into the fifth quarter show, my name is Derek Smith. Pleased to have you with us on a tough day for the Bears. If you want to talk about it, you can comment on the YouTube channel, Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Baylor Athletics. You can see the video from inside the booth here at A&G Carter Stadium, or you can tweet us using the hashtag BUQ5Show. You know, you come into the day with, I think, at least some optimism in the sense that Baylor has played well out of the bye in recent years. Last year, you know that last year doesn't mean that something happened last year doesn't mean it's going to happen this year. But last year, the team embarked on a 6-game winning streak with a big road win out of the bye, and you hoped that maybe that trend would continue. But if you put together a list of things that either individuals needed to do for the Bears to have a chance to win on the road, or that the team needed to do to have a chance to win on the road, honestly, almost none of them happened. And on that level, it's almost a nice surprise that Baylor had a chance at the end when you look at how many just things that you would need did not go Baylor's way. I mean, you say, what's Baylor going to need to do to get a big road win? Well, it always starts with Sawyer Robertson. Sawyer Robertson has justifiably earned attention as one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, but it was not his day today. He was 25 of 52. He finished with 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, and he struggled today. There's no other way to say it. And, the fact that he's as talented as he is, he ended up with 318 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those 2 totals aren't bad, but obviously under 50% passing. He just wasn't in sync. He was short on some throws or long on some throws, missed some open touchdowns, and he struggled today for the Bears. You might say if Baylor was going to have a chance to win, they would need a big game running the football. And when you look across the way, TCU has the worst run defense in the Big 12, and yet they slowed down Baylor's running game today. 37 carries, 121 yards. That's just 3 yards per carry. Now, there was a bright spot in there. I thought the young guys, Caden Knight and Michael Turner, did well, but still, you didn't get a great day from Sawyer Robertson. You didn't get a great day from your running game. Your big mismatch guy, Michael Trigg, who 2 weeks ago had the most prolific receiving day for a Baylor tight end in the program's history, was very quiet today, dropped some passes. He finished with 3 catches for 56 yards late. So, again, you don't get a lot from him. And then the defense struggled. The defense kept TCU off the board in a game that was slow to get going. Baylor's defense kept TCU off the board in the first quarter. There was rain. There were multiple rain showers in the opening half of football and really on into the third quarter, fourth quarter as well. But particularly early on, maybe rain had an impact. Players for both teams dropped passes, just didn't quite look in sync. But after that, TCU got going. They scored 42 points in the final 3 quarters, including a big 21-point third quarter in a sequence that really changed the game that we'll talk about in a little bit. But you just look across the board, there were some nice individual moments, and you can feel good that the team, I suppose, continued to fight and actually had a chance late in the game. But also there's a part of me that also thinks, too, continuing to fight should be what you expect. I think that's something that has been a good quality of this team, but also continuing to fight when you're down is the expectation as well. So maybe how much do you harp on the fact that they continue to fight, which is good, versus the fact that they were down and have found themselves trailing by multiple scores a lot in Big 12 play this year, even in games they've come back to win. I think that's been a frustrating aspect of a team that is inconsistent, moment by moment, game to game. There's talent there. They had a chance, a couple plays here and there. You're maybe talking about a crazy comeback. You're talking about a team that's 5-2. But now, but they weren't able to do that. They made too many mistakes, 4 turnovers, just one. That's been a real weak spot for the team this year, turnovers. Baylor now minus 10 on the season through 7 games. And the fumble by Bryson Washington, I think it was a wet football, but still that was a backbreaker in the second quarter. And you just look, the things that the team have struggled with over the course of the first 6 games all appeared at one point or another today, whether it was, maybe receivers not quite being in sync with Sawyer Robertson or vice versa, whether it was turnovers or whether it was just an inability to slow down the other team. Those were all problematic, and there weren't enough big individual moments to offset that for the Bears today, and they fall 42-36. Baylor is now 4-3 overall, 2-2 in Big 12 play, heading into what's really going to be a tough game next week at Cincinnati. They can, this team. The funny thing about them is, I think there's a sense out there people think they're really bad. They're not. They're inconsistent, and would it shock me if they bounced back and won a big game on the road next week against Cincinnati? It wouldn't, although, today doesn't leave you with a good taste in your mouth. It's just, we'll say this, maybe through the end of the year, it's an up-and-down football team that is inconsistent, and they'll tantalize you one moment. It'll be disappointing the next, and you hope that they put it together enough here and there to get more wins and losses. And I think they will. That might be a little overdramatic. This is a 4-3 football team that's a couple plays away from being 3-4. That's a couple plays away from being 5-2 or even 6-1. And I think, to state the obvious, when a team is inconsistent, that's just what happens. That's what happens, and that's what we saw today. And it also means, though, that you shouldn't lose hope in what could happen next week at Cincinnati, because they're just as capable as putting it together up there as they were struggling today. And you just, like you say, you just don't know moment by moment what you're going to get. I will say this. You just wish that they were able to get off to better starts. This is a situation now. Today, Baylor did score 7 first quarter points. Those came late in the first quarter. But, Baylor has now scored just 23 first quarter points in our 5 Power 4 games, and actually now in 6 Power 4 games. That's tough. That can put you in a hole pretty regularly, and that's been the story for the Bears. They don't let it get them down. They don't let it keep them from fighting, but you could be talking about a different story if the team was able to get something going in the first quarter more than they have this year. So far, once again this year, Baylor scored 18 points in the fourth quarter against TCU today, just like they did against Kansas State 2 weeks ago. So again, you're talking about a Baylor team that has scored at least twice in each of their last 5 Power 4 football games. So they've shown an ability to close or come close to it, but maybe it wouldn't be so hard if the starts weren't so slow. Baylor had a chance, as we'll talk about after the break, to go up in this game by a 14-7 score. But Sawyer Robertson misfired on a pass to Kobe Prentice. Baylor's defense was unable to, after Baylor turned it over on downs a play later, Baylor's defense was unable to stop them. They scored, and a Baylor fumble gave them another score, and they really put together a fantastic, you hate to say it, a 28-3 stretch against the Bears. When the Bears had been up 7-0, they found themselves down 28-10 early third quarter. And so that slow start, when they couldn't take advantage of TCU's sluggish start, ensured that once TCU got it going, once they got rolling downhill, it would be that much harder for Baylor to come back. That was the story. That was the case today in a 42-36 loss to TCU. Appreciate you being with us here on the fifth quarter show today in a game that was delayed a total, if my math is right, of 2 hours and 15 minutes due to 4 delays, really 3 stoppages of play. The fourth delay was just adding on there in the last one, but it was frustrating because when it was raining here, we were able to play through it, but then once the rain moved on out for the most part, and really even the sun came out, that's when all the lightning delays began. I think that's what, too, made this game all the more frustrating from a fan's standpoint, is you kind of just had to marinate in it, for fans here. And shout out to the Baylor fans who stuck around. They were cheering wildly late when it looked like Baylor had a chance to come back in this one. But shout out to them for sticking around and supporting the team through that. Again, through 2 hours and 15 minutes of delays. And I think it just added to it for everyone in the Baylor fan base that you had to marinate in it. You had to sit there and just wait for an ending that was somewhat exciting at the end before ultimately disappointing. And I think it just adds to the frustration when you lose to your rival, when you lose a winnable game, and when you make a lot of mistakes that had an impact on the game in so doing. We're brought to you on the Fifth Quarter Show by Rudy's. Rudy's is a proud sponsor of Baylor football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. Don't forget, Rudy's serves breakfast tacos every day until 10 a.m. Green and Gold Rewind is coming up next. We'll take a look at how this game unfolded. Later on, we'll hear from Coach Dave Aranda's postgame interview with the voice of the Bears, John Moore. Actually, that was with Ricky Thompson today, I beg your pardon. We'll look at we'll go inside the numbers as well. There's some numbers that really tell the story this year. In fact, there's one that I really just can't allow. There's really 2 numbers that really I can't not think about right now. What are those 2 numbers? Well, we'll talk about them a little bit later on, but they involve points allowed and the turnover margin for this football team, because it certainly tells a big part of the story so far in a season in which the Bears now have a 4-3 record after the loss today to TCU. Back with more on the Fifth Quarter Show after this here on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
The Toyota Trucks Game Day sales event is on, and there's no one key to victory. You need strength. You need power. You need agility. You need a team that shows up ready to win. And Toyota Trucks, yeah, they bring the full roster. The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for it all. With available bed-mounted power outlets, massive towing capability, and a cabin fit for your crew, Toyota Tundra and Tacoma don't just show up to game day, they dominate it. Kick off the season with big savings during the Toyota Trucks Game Day sales event. But hurry, these deals won't last forever.
Toyota is a proud partner of Baylor Athletics. Wear green, haul gold in a new Tundra or Tacoma. Built to take you wherever the road leads, on game day and beyond. Visit your local Toyota dealer today.
Toyota, let's go places. See packages and options at toyota.com for feature availability.
A bank in any town USA treats everyone like, well, anyone. At Central National Bank, we provide Central Texans with a different kind of banking. We believe in people over processes, listening over telling, and helping our customers over helping ourselves. Come to Central National Bank and experience the difference. Bank different, Bank Central. Central National Bank, member FDIC. Proud partner of Baylor Athletics.
Kids can now join the Baylor Cub Club, the official kids club of Baylor Athletics, presented by Green Eye Associates. Fans 12 and under can register for the low cost of $25 and gain exclusive benefits and access to Baylor Athletics events. Members receive free admission to select events, exclusive giveaway access, and their own membership package. To register your Cub, please visit BaylorBears.com/Cub Club. Sign your Cub up today.
Welcome back to the Fifth Quarter Show on the Baylor Sports Media Network. It's time to hit the rewind button and relive today's game with highlights from the legendary voice of the Bears, John Morris. This is Green and Gold Rewind.
Well, some games are more fun to revisit than others, and this is one that does not fall into the more fun category. Even though it, again, the Bears showed resilience today. They nearly had an opportunity to climb all the way out of a 42-21 deficit late, but were unable to do so. And there's a key stretch in this game that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. You might be able to guess when it is. It's a stretch that bridges the second and third quarters, in which a game that Baylor had a chance to take control of was instead controlled by TCU. You know, I think the final score of this game, 42-36, isn't so shocking. Two high-octane offenses. Again, you're talking about the top two passing quarterbacks in the nation, Sawyer Robertson and Josh Hoover. Baylor came into the day with the number one passing offense in the nation. TCU number 5. So you expected points to be scored. I think the path to that final score certainly didn't look like we might have thought it would. And it started off in a game that was waterlogged. It was a soggy game. Just before kickoff, the skies opened up, and it rained off and on for much of the game. And obviously that weather front had an impact on things later on. But both teams punted on each of their first two possessions in this game. I don't think anyone predicted that, but that is what happened. But it was Baylor who got the scoring going. A 13-play, 92-yard drive that took nearly 6.5 minutes off the clock. In terms of yardage and time off the clock, it was Baylor's longest drive of the season. It featured, Baylor went for it on fourth down twice, once a conversion, once drew a pass interference, and it set Baylor up for a goal-to-go situation, and a direct snap to Bryson Washington got the Bears on the board.
So here we go. See who gets the snap here. It's back to Bryson Washington. The push, and he is no sign yet. Boy, it looks like
it's a touchdown.
He's in.
A touchdown.
He's in.
He's got to be in. Yeah, he is. Touchdown, Baylor. Wow. How about that drive by Baylor coming out from their own 8-yard line, and a 13-play, 92-yard scoring drive by the Bears. They punch it in with 6 minutes, 23 seconds on the possession.
So Bryson Washington with the touchdown there. We didn't really see much of him on the day, particularly in the second half. Just one second-half carry, finished the game with 11 carries for 23 yards and a touchdown. But that was a big play there to get the Bears on the board and give Baylor a 7-0 lead. TCU would answer. That came with under a minute to play in the first quarter. TCU would answer on a drive that bridged the first and second quarters. A touchdown pass to DJ Rogers tied it up at 7. And then we get into a stretch that was really the key stretch of the game. And it started with about 8 minutes to go in the first half. The Bears were driving. They put together a solid drive. In fact, it was 7 plays. They had moved down the field and into TCU territory. And that's when things unfortunately got a little wonky. You know, you had a game in which Sawyer Robertson didn't start off passing the football well. He was 2 for his first 6, then went on a stretch where he was 5 for his next 7. And a big sequence came with about 8 minutes to go in the first half. Kobe Prentice made a move and was wide open down the right sideline. a pass in stride, and he's got a touchdown. But it was not a pass in stride. As we said, it just wasn't Sawyer Robertson's best game today. He, I don't know if it was mechanics, don't know if it was pressure, don't know if it was just being off, but whatever the case, he was off today, and he misfired on a pass to Kobe Prentice, and obviously that was incomplete. Next play, the Bears turned it over on down. So the Bears miss an opportunity there to go up 14-7. What happens is the Bears turn it over on downs. They give it back to TCU, and TCU is unable to score, but they punt back to the Bears, and on Baylor's very first play, Bryson Washington fumbles. It takes TCU only 2 plays to score, and now it is 14-7 in favor of TCU. So instead of being 14-7 Baylor, it's a 2-touchdown swing essentially, and now 14-7 TCU. Baylor was unable to punch it in on another long drive, a 10-play drive. They had to settle for a field goal by Connor Hawkins from 40 yards out. That made the score at 14-10 in favor of the Horned Frogs, and that came with about 2:04 to play. And then another part, a back-breaking moment in the back-breaking sequence. Baylor's defense gave up a long touchdown drive to TCU to end the half. It was a 10-play, 77-yard drive. Took just a minute 47 seconds off the clock, resulted in a touchdown with 11 seconds to play in the first half. And all of a sudden, TCU is up 21-10. So again, just a few moments ago, you're looking at the potential for Baylor to be up 14-7. Instead, it goes the other way. TCU, in about a 4-minute span, they lead 14-7. Then after Baylor has to settle for a field goal, they score another touchdown. The defense had multiple opportunities to get them off the field and just couldn't. Baylor was shorthanded today. Tevin Williams, cornerback, was out against McAllister and these great TCU receivers. Carl Williams was out. But still, at some point, that's, it's next man up, and Baylor's defense struggled today. We'll talk about the numbers later, but Baylor's defense had numerous opportunities to get TCU's offense off the field, but could not do so. TCU scored, heading into the locker room with a 21-10 lead. Then TCU got the ball back to start the third quarter and essentially did the same thing again, a 74-yard drive. This one a little longer, 3 minutes and 13 seconds. But Baylor was unable to stop them. You look, they drove 7 plays, 74 yards, and it ended with a touchdown to Kamarian Pimpton, and that gave TCU a 28-10 lead. So now Baylor is down by 18 points, and again, Baylor finds itself down in a spot that's been too familiar for them this year, down by 2 scores against a Big 12 team. Again, they always make it interesting, and against Kansas State, came back to win. You look at this SMU game. That was not a Big 12 game, but it was a Power 4 game. They're down by 2 scores. They come back to win. So you never feel like they're out of it, but continually falling behind is frustrating, and that's what Baylor did again today. And TCU really masterfully bridged the second and third quarters. Again, there's a stretch here where Baylor is up 7-0 and has a chance to go up 14-7. Instead, TCU puts together a 28-3 run in the span of about 1 quarter worth of time, bridging the second and third quarters. Baylor would answer, though, after that touchdown pass to Pimpton. Jaden Porter said, "I don't know what you heard about me." Sawyer Robertson finds him down the right sideline for a touchdown to pull Baylor to within 11.
Snap back to Robertson. Robertson lost for the end zone. It is a catch caught. Jaden Porter, the touchdown for Baylor.
That was a beautiful throw by Sawyer Robertson on a day in which he was just a bit off. He was on there with a nice pass to Jaden Porter, the Lorena product, with his first career touchdown catch. Baylor went for 2, much like they did against Kansas State 2 weeks ago. They were able to make the play. A 2-point conversion was good. And Jaden Porter's touchdown and the 2-point conversion pulled Baylor to within 10 at 28-18. So then it starts getting good here a little bit. Baylor, after forcing TCU to a 3-and-out, drives down the field again, 12 plays, but has to settle for a field goal again Connor Hawkins. That was going into the start of the fourth quarter. Baylor thought had a chance to go for the touchdown, facing a 4th down and 7 at the TCU 23, but they went for the point. And Hawkins hit the 41-yard field goal. That made it 28-21. So at this point, the game again, despite falling behind 28-10, is right there for the taking. I think if you'd sit on the road, Baylor would be down 7, 5 seconds into the fourth quarter. You would have taken that based on the way Baylor's played. They played well in fourth quarters this year. But then things got crazy. At 1:45 p.m., we had a lightning delay. It felt like the rain had moved all out of the area, and it had, but there was some lingering lightning. There was a delay of 58 minutes. Baylor had the football. You hope they might shift the momentum, but they were forced to punt. And then a turnover on downs. And we had another delay starting at 2:59 p.m., about an hour after the initial one. We only played about 16 minutes of football before another delay, and it just got real herky-jerky. All in all, from 1:45 p.m. to 4:16 p.m., that's a stretch of, about 2.5 hours. We were delayed for all but 16 minutes of that. So the Bears are down at this point by a score of actually, they're down 35-21. I jumped the gun a little bit because Trent Battle ran it in from 65 yards out just before the delay to make it 35-21. So Baylor's headed down, but Baylor's down by 2 scores heading into the locker room for the first delay, 35-21. Then they come back out, have the turnover on downs, and after the delay again, TCU has the ball deep in Baylor territory, and they score on their first play to go up 42-21. At that point, it felt like the game was out of reach. TCU, after all these delays, is up 42-21 with 6:04 to play. But the Bears had a little more left in the tank, and it started on the defensive end, in which Josh Hoover fumbled, and Keaton Thomas was there to pick it up and take it the rest of the way.
3 receivers to the near side, the wide side of the field. As a fake handoff, Josh Hoover keeps, and the ball is fumbled and picked up. Baylor will run it into the end zone. Keaton Thomas picked it up and ran it in. Touchdown, Baylor.
Wow. So Baylor would go for 2, make it 42-29. After forcing a TCU punt, Baylor gets the ball back and with just under 2 minutes to go, and drives 95 yards down the field in just a minute and 19 seconds, and made it interesting with a fantastic grab by the Texas State transfer Cole Wilson.
2nd and 10 for the Bears from the TCU 35 with 38 seconds remaining. Robertson going deep. Left side into the end zone, a dive and a catch and a touchdown.
Whoa.
What a catch. What a terrific catch. Cole Wilson made the grab on a full-out dive in the back left corner of the end zone for a Baylor touchdown.
That made it 42-36 as the Bears got the extra point. The Bears went for the onside kick and recovered it, and all of a sudden, incredibly, in a stadium that had completely emptied out after all the delays, the Bears had the football at near midfield with an opportunity to drive down the field, and a touchdown would win the game for the Bears, but it was not to be. A holding penalty and then a Sawyer Robertson interception, and then it really was over, 42-36. The final score, just kind of up and down. The Bears had some moments in this game that were good, but if they didn't have as many moments where they missed opportunities, where they turned the football over, or where they just allowed TCU to really move the football to the tune of 42 points, which matches the most points they've scored this year against a Power 4 team. Now, they're a high-octane offense, but, man, just be nice to come into a place like this, force a turnover, to hold a team below their average, but that was not the case today in the 42-36 final score. This is the fifth quarter show here on the Baylor Sports Media Network. Still to come, we're going to hear again from Bears head coach Dave Aranda. We're going to look at the players who had the biggest impact positively and negatively on the game today. We'll talk about that. And we also a little bit later on, or actually coming up next, we'll go inside the key numbers of this game. Want to remind you, the Baylor Coaches Show live from Rudy's is back. You can join us this Wednesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. Listen on our flagship station, ESPN Central Texas, and you can go live to Rudy's and see the Baylor Coaches Show presented by Central National Bank this week. The guests are volleyball coach Ryan McGuire and head women's basketball coach Nikki Collins. So you want to make it out. You can get the inside scoop on those programs and then subsequent programs, other coaches as well, here all the way up to Christmas time. But that is this Wednesday night, 6 to 7 p.m., the Baylor Coaches Show presented by Central National Bank live at Rudy's. We'll go inside the numbers when we come back after this on a tough day in Fort Worth for the Bears on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
If you're stuck in a high auto loan rate, it's time to call an Audible.
Hi, I'm Joe Betsy Tyler with First Central. When it comes to your auto loan, you don't have to stay in a bad formation. Call the right play. Refinance with First Central and get a lower rate, fast approvals, and a team that knows how to win local.
Visit firstcentralcu.com and apply today.
First Central Credit Union. Everything we do for you.
Membership and loan policy requirements apply. Member NCUA.
Premier ER and Urgent Care has all the convenience of urgent care with all the expertise of an ER, all under one roof. At every visit, be seen by ER-trained staff with on-site lab and CT, X-ray, ultrasound, and EKG. Here, you pay for the appropriate level of care that you receive, and we are in network with most major insurance providers. Premier ER and Urgent Care has 4 convenient locations serving Texas: San Marcos, Temple, Waco, and Woodway. To learn more, visit www.premier.care.
Baylor Nation rolls along with Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram. Start with award-winning service and factory-trained techs. Then shop our new and used lineup from cars, trucks to SUVs, all makes and models. Running a business? We're your Central Texas headquarters for ProMaster vans, cab, and chassis and work trucks. For power and comfort, test drive the Ram 1500, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year winner again. Allen Samuels in Waco, proud partner of Baylor Athletics.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Do you want to earn points while cheering on your favorite Baylor teams? Join Baylor Bold Rewards. Track your attendance on the Baylor Sports app across athletic events and earn points towards prizes and experiences. Download the Baylor Sports app or register online today at BaylorBoldRewards.com and start earning your points today.
Welcome back to the fifth quarter show on the Baylor Sports Media Network. Get ready to go inside the numbers for the stats that shaped today's game. Here's Derek Smith.
TCU 42, Baylor 36. TCU defeats Baylor. The Bears coming off of the bye week, which has often been a good time for the Bears, but not today as they fall 42-36 to TCU. The Bears now 4-3 overall, 2-2 in Big 12 play. TCU also 2-2 in Big 12 play, but 5-2 overall. You know, we're going to look at the game numbers from this, some of the team and individual stats, but there's a couple numbers that really stand out that we're going to discuss that are referenced earlier. Before I do, we'll mention Coach Aranda did say after the game that Bryson Washington was banged up. Not surprising. We didn't see him in much in this game in the second half, just one second half carry. He had that big fumble. He remains day to day, he said, according to Zach Smith of the Waco Tribune Herald after the game. But so Bryson Washington day to day. We didn't see much of him in the second half. We did see Michael Turner and Caden Knighton, and the two freshmen were actually pretty solid in an otherwise tough running game for the Bears. Mention a couple of those numbers. The first one to talk about is turnovers. The Big 12 is a close game league. There's a lot of parity. There's a lot of teams that are good but maybe have a flaw, and what that leads to is a lot of close games like we saw today. I mean, again, Baylor was down 42-21 with 6 minutes to go and had the ball at midfield with under a minute to go with an opportunity to win the football game. But too many self-inflicted wounds. Before the game, Nick Florence on the Baylor Alumni Network tailgate show said whichever offense made the fewest mistakes would win the football game today. You had two teams that passing game-wise were evenly matched. Baylor number 1 in the nation in passing per game. TCU number 5. Sawyer Robertson and Josh Hoover have both been outstanding over the courses of their career. Whoever made the least mistakes, Nick Florence said would win, and he was proven correct on that. Baylor turned the ball over 4 times today. Difficult to win football games against anyone when you do that. Even more difficult to win them in a conference game. Even more difficult to win them on the road. Baylor did get the one turnover late, the Keaton Thomas fumble return for a touchdown that actually gave Baylor a chance late. At the time, it just seemed kind of cosmetic, but it actually gave Baylor a chance late. But -3 on the day, -10 on the year. That's certainly tough to overcome. So you think through 7 games, Baylor is averaging about 1.3 turnovers more per game, 1.6 maybe, but a little over a turnover per game more than the other team, and that puts you in a hole. Combined with just the slow starts, that puts you in a hole. The team again shows the ability to climb out of them, but what if you didn't have to climb out of them? So that's one number that stands out today. Baylor -10 in the turnover category this year. Another one is just allowing too many points. Baylor's allowing 31 points per game. Baylor's got a high octane offense, but difficult to when you're giving up 31 points a game. That is just challenging. Right? That's no question about it. And that's where Baylor finds themselves. Right now, giving up 31 points per game, scoring 36 points per game. And again, against a tough schedule. Baylor's only going to play in one non-Power 4 team this year. That was Samford. But boy, you just want to see that number that number go down. Another number worth noting today, Sawyer Robertson threw a career-high 52 passes. You'd like more balance than that. The game dictated what it dictated, but the Bears are just 1-5 when Sawyer Robertson throws over 40 passes in a game. The one win came here in the Metroplex, week number 2 of the season, when he threw 50 passes in Baylor's double overtime win over then number 17 SMU. But again, it's not that he threw 50 passes, it's that he needed to throw 50 passes. It meant the Bears weren't doing enough offensively, or weren't doing enough in the run game to keep him from having to throw that many. And so far this year, Baylor has done a good job on offense despite being one-dimensional. I guess I would say, you look, if this was a two-dimensional offense like it was last year with both the running game and the passing game really clicking, Baylor's hard to stop. As such, you've sort of asked the passing game to carry a lot of the load, and that's just, against good teams that Baylor's going up against somewhere along the way, that's going to bite you, and perhaps it did today as Sawyer just wasn't his sharpest by any stretch. 25 of 52, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So Baylor actually outgained TCU 439 yards to 427. TCU, though, with 196 yards on the ground. 196 yards on the ground today for the Horned Frogs. And, this is a TCU team that had the worst rushing offense in the Big 12 on a per-game average. But today, 196 yards and 5 yards per carry. Baylor 6 of 17 on third down, 2 of 4 on fourth. TCU 6 of 13 on third down. Penalties, not a huge factor today. Baylor 5 for 44. TCU 6 for 75. But you also look at defensively, when you could talk about points per game. Baylor's given up too many and gave up too many today. But you also look just not getting the kind of pressure that you want. Today, TCU had 7 pass breakups, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 7 quarterback hurries. Baylor was held without a sack, did have 3 tackles for loss, but just 2 pass breakups and 1 quarterback hurry. Sawyer Robertson was on the run a lot, whereas Josh Hoover was not. Josh Hoover had a fairly clean pocket a lot of the game today. And obviously, when we talk about Baylor being -10 on turnovers, pressure creates the environment that leads to turnovers, and Baylor has not got enough of that this season up to this point, which is why they're 4-3 again, as opposed to having that opportunity to be, right now maybe 5-2 or even 6-1 with a couple of plays here and there. Michael Turner, 12 carries, 68 yards. The young guy was good. So was Caden Knighton, 10 carries for 42 yards. Josh Cameron, 8 catches, 86 yards. Ashton Hawkins, 7 for 95. Jaden Porter had his first career touchdown catch. Cole Wilson, a really nice catch to pull Baylor within a score late. He finished with 3 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown. Michael Trigg, quiet today, 3 catches for 56 yards, mostly coming late. TCU's passing game is very good. Eric McAllister, 7 catches for 62 yards. And then you also look, they've got a nice two-headed monster with him and with Dwyer. And today, 7 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown for Jordan Dwyer. Those are some of the key numbers in this game, a game that goes TCU's way. 42-36 today, they defeat the Bears. We're going to roll on the fifth quarter show. When we come back, we're going to revisit the thoughts of Bears head coach Dave Aranda in his post-game interview. That's straight ahead here on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
When life gets complicated, Butts Law Firm is your one-stop for a wide range of legal needs. Whether you need estate planning...
It's pretty short, as you can imagine, a little over 4 minutes.
Or the appointment of a receiver to handle personal assets management and disposal, consumer protection, family-related legal matters, or various business-related issues. We are your community firm. Whether you're planning for the future, navigating a probate, or managing a business, our experienced team is ready to guide you every step of the way. Trust us to provide the legal support you need. Call today, 406-641-BUTZ. That's 406-641-2889. Or come by the Waxahachie office at 301 South Rogers Street, Suite 202, downtown Waxahachie. Come see the difference having a trusted attorney by your side can make, because at Butts Law Firm, your legal rights are our business.
Do you ever scream at your screen when your 5G internet freezes? It's the worst. So why not switch to Astound? Wi-Fi that just works. With Astound Wi-Fi, you'll rage less, buffer less, and live more. Lock in gig speed Wi-Fi for just $35 a month, guaranteed for 3 years. Plus, get up to a $200 Amazon gift card. Astound Wi-Fi, it just works. Visit astound.com today.
If you need a trailer, Flat Rock Trailers has got you covered. From light-duty single-axle utility trailers to the Big Tex tandem duals. We also carry a full line of enclosed cargo trailers. Need a motorcycle trailer? We've got them. Need a dump trailer? We've got the largest selection in the state. Oilfield trailers? We carry a full line of Big Tex trailers to handle all your needs. Trailer repairs? We repair all makes and models. We'll even rent you a trailer if you need to use one for a day. Flat Rock Trailers, your #1 source for all your trailer needs. Find us at flatrocktrailers.com.
Welcome back to the Fifth Quarter Show on the Baylor Sports Media Network. Here's your host, Derek Smith.
Hey guys,
Ricky Thompson
Coach.
with head coach Dave Aranda now. It's brought to you by Alliance Bank. Alliance Bank, it's your bank. Ricky, take it away.
Hey, Coach, tough loss there, but what fight to get back in that game. Who would have thought that you would have an onside kick down by 6 with 27 seconds to go?
Yeah, appreciate the effort, and the guys really care, and they're they're fighting for this team. We just have to execute much better. We have to run the ball better. We've got to protect the football on offense and not give it away. And defensively, we cannot give up the explosive plays we gave up today. And so, we really worked on those things in the bye, was expecting better success than what we had.
Turnovers are huge. 3 interceptions in the last 6 minutes and 1 fumble. Of course, you did have the fumble recovery for a touchdown, too, that really got you back in position to possibly win this game.
Yeah, we find a way to get into a game and make it ugly. And so we've got much better talent than that, and we've got to be able to get it to where we're playing clean and we're forcing people up to play to their standard. Right now we kind of get into a game and get it as dirty as possible, and it's frustrating to win and lose that way, be honest.
Seemed like early really struggled to run the football. That allowed them to seem like tee off on Sawyer. Sawyer had a tough day throwing the ball. Completion percentage probably the lowest of his starting career.
Yes. Yeah, I think that is probably the number one thing of all the things that we really have to attack is our ability to run the ball. When we can run the ball, we win. And we've got to be able to run the ball better than what we're doing.
Yeah, I thought TCU hit a couple of really big runs. The 165-yard touchdown play that really put a strain. TCU, these delays, obviously that's tough. But I thought, considering that, this team hung together to get back in that game. It was 42-21, one play into the last delay.
What's crazy is that touchdown that we came back from, how many times was out. We had talked about that play for an hour or whatever it was. And then to have that result is just incredibly, entirely, all-encompassing, frustrating. And so it was good to respond after that and get the ball back to our offense and make a touchdown after that on defense. But we have to be so much better. It's very frustrating.
Well, I really think you pretty much said it, but beat yourselves today. Made plays to get back in this football game, but if shouldn't have been in that position late and could have won this thing by 2 touchdowns.
That's right. Yeah, you look at that when we came on back. If we don't give up that touchdown, if we force a field goal, we block a field goal, we make a play there, it's a different outcome. And so it's just a huge deal. And I just think everything matters when you're playing in the Big 12, and we have to get better.
Well, we thought maybe a questionable call, but great punt return by Josh Cameron down to the 10. Then it flips to the other end of the field and a block in the back, and those kind of errors are killers as well.
They are, yeah. It seemed anytime we had some momentum going, there was something that we would instigate that would bring it back the other way, and so that was an example of it. We're really looking all around after we scored that touchdown on defense for if that was going to be the case there too. We have to play cleaner. We have the ability to do that, and it's about time we do it.
Well, I know it's not acceptable to lose, but these guys did hang in there and came back and had a chance to win this game. Now next week you go to Cincinnati, another good football team. You're 4-3, 2-2 in the league. That's a huge game now. They all are, but a Big 12 road game back-to-back.
It's a big physical team. They've got a really good quarterback. They've got a defense that's really stout, and they got an offensive line that could be one of the better offensive lines in our league. And so what a challenge for us. And it's a game that we got to win.
That's Bears head coach Dave Aranda after the game visiting with Ricky Thompson. You hear him, obviously it was good that the Bears fought back, but also that's not – on some level, maybe you should expect that of a team to continue to fight. I think that's Baylor does it well, but that's something that should be an expectation. More than that, it's just all the things that add up to having to do so. You could hear the frustration in his voice. It's the little things, and and for the Bears, it was maybe a missed pass that could have been a touchdown today. It was the line not giving Bryson Washington the kind of holes he needed. It was Sawyer Robertson being under pressure because they felt like they knew he was going to throw. He needed to throw. It was the turnovers. It was all of those things, and it added up to a loss today for the Bears. And again, you look 7 games in now. The team is 4-3. They're good enough to beat anyone on the schedule next week, including Cincinnati. And it's not a shock if they do, but also if they don't play their best, anyone can get them too. And we've seen that. And so for the Bears, the quest to put together that complete 60-minute game to really get it done on both sides of the football. Complementary football, that quest rolls on. And hopefully next week it transpires against Cincinnati. This is the fifth quarter show here from Amon G. Carter Stadium in Fort Worth, where the Bears came close but fell short today, 42-36 to TCU. We'll take a break, and when we come back, our impact segment. Who had the biggest impact on today's game? We'll talk about some of those when we return after this here on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
ER and Urgent Care has all the convenience of urgent care with all the expertise of an ER, all under one roof. At every visit, be seen by ER-trained staff with on-site lab and CT, X-ray, ultrasound, and EKG. Here, you pay for the appropriate level of care that you receive, and we are in-network with most major insurance providers. Premier ER and Urgent Care has 4 convenient locations serving Texas: San Marcos, Temple, Waco, and Woodway. To learn more, visit www.premier.care.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Come see why Green Eye Associates is voted best in Waco year after year. Enjoy exceptional service and care from Dr. Leanne Green alongside her dedicated optometrist and staff. Receive trustworthy insights on your eye health. Enjoy the impressive variety of contacts and eyewear, and work with the most experienced optical team in Waco. Don't miss the new state-of-the-art dry eye therapies that rejuvenate the eyes and face with safe, non-invasive treatments to restore comfort and quality of life. Green Eye Associates, official optometrist of Baylor Athletics. Baylor Nation rolls along with Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram. Start with award-winning service and factory-trained techs. Then shop our new and used lineup from cars, trucks to SUVs, all makes and models. Running a business? We're your Central Texas headquarters for ProMaster vans, cab, and chassis and work trucks. For power and comfort, test drive the Ram 1500, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year winner again. Allen Samuels in Waco, proud partner of Baylor Athletics.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Welcome back to the fifth quarter show on the Baylor Sports Media Network. Who had the biggest impact on today's game? Here's Derek Smith with today's Impact segment.
We welcome you back in to the fifth quarter show at Amon G. Carter Stadium on the TCU campus. Game that went the way of the Horned Frogs today. And as we talk about the players who had the impact or not on today's game, I think you revisit something that we talked about at the start of the show today, knowing that the Bears were coming off of the bye week, that they played so well. You kind of hope that who's going to step up? Last year it was Sawyer Robertson throwing for 5 touchdowns. Bryson Washington had a big game against Texas Tech, and then a huge game the next week against TCU. Michael Trigg, a big game in that one. Well, who's going to step up? You mentioned some of those guys' names, and you think, well, if you're going to win on the road, it needs to be guys like them stepping up. And unfortunately, that was not the case today. I think you start with the offensive line. Baylor's offensive line wasn't able to effectively block for the run game, and then you look that allowed TCU to tee off on Sawyer Robertson. We mentioned earlier he was under duress a decent part of the game. He had 7 quarterback hurries, sacked twice, 7 pass breakups. And he wasn't his best today either, even beyond that, but certainly that played a role. He was 25 of 52, lowest completion percentage of his career in the game in which he threw the most passes in a single game of his career. But you look, to win on the road, you need him to have a good game. He did not have a good game. His best game, Bryson Washington, was banged up, but still 11 carries, 23 yards, and a touchdown. That's very quiet. Michael Trigg, quiet until the fourth quarter. Just guys that you needed to step up did not. And then the defense struggled. You expected TCU's passing game to make noise. They're their top 5 passing game in the nation. Of course, Baylor number 1. But you didn't expect TCU last in the Big 12 in rushing yards per game to go off 196 yards and 5.2 yards per carry. That was a disappointment today, certainly for the team itself. And just in terms of this game, that had a big impact on this game because TCU was two-dimensional, and they put together stretches where they were very, very difficult to slow down. A 28-point stretch in about 1 quarter's worth of play between the second and third quarters. And then they took advantage of short fields after some Baylor turnovers on downs in the fourth quarter to, it seemed like, salt the game away, although they didn't quite salt the game away. But those were areas that you wanted to have a positive impact on the game that did not. You look today for the Bears, and I think if you're looking for a positive, I think the 2 young freshman running backs, Michael Turner and Caden Knight, you like what they did today. They combined for 110 yards on 22 carries. That is 5 yards a pop. They were solid in the absence of Bryson Washington. It was really the first game we've seen in which players outside of Bryson Washington had a consistent positive impact on the running game. So a tip of the cap to them on that. Josh Cameron, 8 catches, 86 yards. Ashton Hawkins, 7 for 95. Again, you give the team a shout-out for its ability to continue to fight. They continued today down to the final moments and had a chance to win, but you also have to give a demerit, if you will, to the way the team starts. They did score a touchdown today, but Baylor, in the Power 4 games that they have played this year, have scored just 23 first-quarter points in 6 Power 4 games. That just gives you a hole to climb out of every single time. That's what the Bears have continued to have to find ways to do. Today, not quite enough to do so. 42-36, the final score. The Bears are back on the road next week in Cincinnati to take on one of the nation's pleasant surprises, the Cincinnati Bearcats, a top 25 team. We'll talk about that when we come back, wrapping things up here after this from Fort Worth. It's the Fifth Quarter Show on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
The Toyota Trucks Game Day sales event is on, and there's no one key to victory. You need strength. You need power. You need agility. You need a team that shows up ready to win. And Toyota Trucks, yeah, they bring the full.
All right, we're in the home stretch. 2-minute warning.
With available
what a day.
outlets, massive towing capability, and a cabin fit for your crew. Toyota Tundra and Tacoma don't just show up to game day, they dominate it. Kick off the season with big savings during the Game Day sales event. But hurry, these deals won't last forever.
A partner of Baylor Athletics.
Yeah, I mean, especially when they hit that. And that's what I was so frustrated at his post game. He was like, yeah, we talked about that first play coming back for an hour. Really? And then they go for an easy touchdown? Like, what? Something's wrong, Like, something's not getting through.
Do you ever scream at your screen when you're
Come on, Arizona State. Tech's got the ball at, good tackle at the goal line.
Wi-Fi?
Down 19-7 with 3:57 left.
Less, buffer less, and live more. Lock in gig speed Wi-Fi for just $35 a month, guaranteed for 3 years. Plus, get up to a $200 Amazon gift card. Astound Wi-Fi, it just works. Visit astound.com today.
At Magnolia Realty, award-winning agents set the bar for professionalism and excellence. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, Magnolia's full-service brokerage will guide you through every step of the process with expert industry knowledge. Their agents are fully invested in learning your story and customizing the real estate experience to suit your stage of life. Magnolia Realty has been serving cities across Texas since 2007, including Waco, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, and Temple. To get connected or learn more, visit magnoliarealty.com.
Welcome back to the Fifth Quarter Show on the Baylor Sports Media Network. Here's your host, Derek Smith.
Wrapping things up here on the Fifth Quarter Show today, a long day in Fort Worth for the Bears and their fans, a game that was delayed 4 times by 2 hours and 15 minutes worth of lightning delays. Just sort of made you have to stew in it a little bit. A game that the Bears dropped to TCU 42-36. It was disappointing. The Bears have, as we've said, generally emerged from the bye week playing some of their better football of the year, and today that was not the case. I think you could hear some of that frustration in the post-game interview there. Baylor just didn't play their best football today, and too many mistakes, Too many missed opportunities added up to a loss on the road. The Bears have an opportunity to get a big road win once again next week, but certainly it is going to be a challenge. You've got the nation's number 24 team, the Cincinnati Bearcats, a team that's kind of like Arizona State last year, has been a surprise, certainly to their fans, a pleasant surprise. You look right now, they are undefeated in Big 12 play at 3-0. They're 5-1 overall, and I don't know that you looked at that game before the season and said, ooh, that's going to be a tough game for the Bears. I think you always know going on the road is tough, but it is that now. The Bears, as we talked about, they've been inconsistent, but inconsistent can sometimes mean, after a bad game, you bounce back and play some of your better football. And honestly, that wouldn't shock me next week, although Cincinnati has some of the ingredients that make life tough on opposing teams. They're in the top half of the Big 12 in both offense and defense, yardage-wise, scoring-wise. They've got a good quarterback in Brendan Sorsby, and he's going to make things challenging. They've got a solid defensive front. The Bears have genuinely played better, have played good football on the road. Not today as much, but they've played good football on the road. That's their task next week. It'll be a 3 o'clock kickoff from Cincinnati's Nippert Stadium. We'll be on the air at 1 o'clock with the Baylor Alumni Network tailgate show. Conecuh Sausage countdown to kickoff at 2. Then the kickoff is at 3 p.m., and following that, we will be back with you on the fifth quarter show. That will be coming to you live from Waco. That is next week. But for now, we'll put the finishing touches on this one. A tough day for the Bears. Sawyer Robertson just doesn't have his best stuff. The running game can't quite get going. Too many turnovers today for the Bears. Despite all that, they had a chance. They had the ball at midfield with under a minute to go with an opportunity to win, but couldn't close it out. And as such, the record is now 2-2 in Big 12 play, 4-3 overall. It's going to wrap things up. Appreciate you all being with us. If you were here 9 hours and 23 minutes ago when we opened up the Baylor Alumni Network tailgate show, we appreciate you sticking with us throughout that, including and most notably Aaron Sexton. Aaron was not allowed to leave, but nonetheless he stayed with us. And Aaron, a long day. You were navigating the rain delay theater with us, helping bring some good content in the midst of that, and we appreciate it. Go home and put your feet up and relax, hopefully, and hopefully next week we're talking about a Baylor win and also one without any delays from Cincinnati. But that's the task next week, to go on the road, put this one behind you, find a way to clean things up, play a 60-minute football game. It would be big to do that next week against the Cincinnati Bearcats. We hope you will join us for that one, again, starting at 1 o'clock next Saturday. Again, that's wrapping things up. Speaking for Aaron Sexton and our engineer Bob Baker, I'm Derek Smith. The final today, TCU 42, Baylor at 36. We appreciate you being with us.